We are learning new details this morning on the plans for Queen Elizabeth's funeral. Buckingham Palace says that 2 minutes of silence will be observed across the UK after the service. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of mourners are lining up to pay their final respects. Some have been waiting for days to see the Queen's coffin. The line now stretches over 4 miles. So joining us now is Julian Payne. He is a CBS News royal contributor. He is also the former communications director for the Prince of Wales. Thank you very much. So Julian, close to 1 million people are expected to see the Queen. And I was watching them as they inside Westminster Hall, and I guess they're not allowed to stop at all. And I thought,
this is moving really quickly.
Yes, I thought maybe that they'd be allowed, a moment to sort of acknowledge and then keep going. So I thought, gosh, you're waiting in line for hours to literally just walk right past, seconds inside there. How are people feeling? What are they telling you about why they're willing to endure that wait to say goodbye to their Queen?
Well, I think you put it perfectly. I mean, this is that last moment that members of the British public, and indeed people who are finding themselves here in the UK this week, have to pay their own personal respects to say goodbye to the Queen, someone who served this country for 70 years. I've heard several people say giving one day of my life to say goodbye didn't feel like such a bad trade. There is a moment, of course, for people to pause. Yes, they are moving through pretty quickly, but you will see people are pausing, saying a little prayer, bowing their heads, and then coming out. And those that come out have talked a lot about the incredible atmosphere, the very quiet, reflective opportunity they had to say goodbye. And that is important, I think, for so many people here today.
Julian, of course, the video that I saw, people are just walking right past. And then I look at this video and I'm like, oh, no, they're stopping. So thanks for putting that out, Julian.
Julian, you've, of course, served with now King Charles III. And I know it's early, but this is the media. You know that we abhor a vacuum, and we ask questions sometimes that are extremely speculative. So this is one of those questions. How do you think he is doing so far? I mean, there have already been a couple of decrees that have been sort of interesting. And I wonder, what do you think that he will take from his mother's legacy of service, including and also his grandfather? And what will he do differently?
Well, look, I think things have begun very well. I think that many people were absolutely blown away by the first King's speech, feeling very much more emotional and connected to people than they were expected. Don't forget, many people still view the King as slightly detached, slightly standoffish, because perhaps they made their minds up about him many years ago. But actually, what we're seeing now is someone who talks about immediately his love for his sons. Somebody that when he came to Buckingham Palace, he got out to meet the people before the politicians inside. So I think what we're seeing is very much of a personal touch in these early days. And I, as someone that worked with him for many years, I'm not surprised by that, because this is a man who actually has a great deal of emotional connection to people. He's a very charismatic man. When the time's right, he's a very funny man, actually. So I'm not surprised to see these things coming out. As we look at how he follows his mother's reign, I think the one thing that will be on his mind is continuity. The monarchy is nothing without that stability. As one monarch breathes their last, so the next king or queen immediately is installed. So he will be thinking about that reassurance and that continuity of the monarchy, whilst at the same time putting a little bit of his own personality on it. And I think that's what we're seeing so far.
So today, the royal family, the king, is out of the public spotlight, having a moment before the funeral on Monday, though I'm not sure what he'll be doing. There will be other heads of state arriving, other members of other royal families arriving. Do we know what the next few days will look like in London?
Yeah, so look, I would be keen to tell you, he is at Highgrove, his home in Gloucestershire, in England today. Whilst you don't see him in public today, I can absolutely assure you that does not mean he will be sat there with his feet up on the sofa. He will be working incredibly hard, all the papers for the next few days. He's in Wales tomorrow, the last of the 4 nations for him to go and visit personally. That desire to connect with people and see them face to face, absolutely vital. And then what you'll see over the days that follow in the lead up to the funeral is these heads of state, high commissioners, governors general of the realms around the world, coming into the UK and getting ready for that huge event on Monday. And he will be spending time with them. Don't forget, he's got a huge number of world leaders to connect with. And I believe he spoke with your President Biden only yesterday.
Julian, before we let you go, looking ahead in the next year or so, do we expect that there will be an investiture of the Prince of Wales now, much in the same way that King Charles had when he was a young man back in 1969 or 1970, I believe? And when do you, and I know it's early and he probably, as only very few people will know this, but what would you expect of a timeline for a coronation?
So, all excellent questions. It was 1969, of course, the investiture for the Prince of Wales. I expect there will be an investiture of some sort, but I suspect it will be more in keeping with the time and the mood of the world today. It will follow the coronation. The coronation will be first. I would imagine that we'd be looking probably towards the spring of next year for that to take place, and then the investiture afterwards. But these events are always a mixture of the state obligation, what we need to see in them, and also very much the personality of the individuals in them as well. So I think you'll have to wait and see exactly how the new Prince of Wales will want to do that event, and of course the King for his coronation.
I'm not going to lie, I had to Google investiture. I did not know
okay,
what that
Boo,
was.
I'm here to help you out.
I know what a coronation is, but you know.
And a member of the Commonwealth, no less.
I know.
I love it. Julian, thank you very much, my friend. We'll talk to you again, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thanks.